Um, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody to Monday Night Reading. We've got a lot of people registered for this call. So sometimes people show up in a little late, and a lot of people then hit YouTube, where you can find later in the week this recording along with other Monday Night Readings on my YouTube channel. Monday Night Reading was born because I have my foot in both fiction and nonfiction worlds. And all my fiction authors get to do readings all the time. It's par for the course. And my nonfiction authors, unless we're talking like, I don't know, you wrote a memoir or something, most of them are not doing readings as promo. And I just feel like, gosh, all the nonfiction authors I know are writing gorgeous prose and beautiful stories, and uh, let's celebrate that. Let's do some readings. So Monday Night Reading was born from that idea. We used to say first Monday of the month, but now we've got so many top three book workshop alums publishing all through the year that we're just trying to keep up with everybody and find a time that works for folks. So tonight I could not be more excited about this night. Um, top three alum Jen Kem is here, and if there ever was a powerhouse author, it's Jen. We are counting the days till Jen's book launch for her book Unicorn Team, which comes out February 4th. And what is that in like uh it's almost exactly 2 weeks. Yeah? 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah.
And for T3 authors, the Monday Night Reading is a little bit of a rite of passage. For Jen's been working on this book for 5 years, and that does
Four and a
not
half. Mhm.
include all the thinking and living and experiencing and testing and proving and getting results. That one of the things I love about you, Jen, that you're not writing a theory. You're not writing, wouldn't it be nice? You're not writing your just hope for the future. You're saying this is what works, and I know because I worked it. And I love that. You came into T3 with that, but your author journey has been bumpy, just some peaks and valleys. And I love that you stayed the course to land where you landed. Unicorn Team is traditionally published through Big Five, Penguin Random House, the imprint is Hay House. And we are so, so proud of you. I'm going to let Laura introduce you, Jen, and then we'll get started. Go for it, Laura.
So,
I would be thrilled. Named a top brand strategist by Forbes, Jen Kim is the mastermind behind many innovations that have changed your life. She led the team that invented streaming video technology and invented winning ideas with brands and leadership teams at the Oprah Winfrey Network, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Oracle, along with numerous New York Times bestselling authors, keynote speakers, and other business and thought leaders. As a top brand strategist recognized by Forbes, she shared her vast experience on major networks and has helped many clients generate billions in revenue through her consulting firm, the Master Brand Institute, which seeks to empower entrepreneurs and business leaders to become known and respected for what they do best. Originally from Hawaii, she lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with her husband and kids. And I'll put in the chat ways that you can stay connected with her and get a copy of her book, Unicorn Team. AJ?
Yay. Okay, so Jen, I always ask the same three questions, which is your reader fundamentals. And so I want to hear from you. For whom did you write Unicorn Team?
I wrote Unicorn Team for people who want to get their ideas into the world and face pressure, friction, and noise getting it into the world. And so, whether you are a solopreneur, whether you are leading a team as part of a small business, or you work in a corporation leading initiatives there, or even being the person in your house that wants to change the way your entire family lives going forward, it's basically for people who have an idea for their life and or the world, and they want to actually make it happen with speed and success without killing themselves along the way.
I love that. And what is the core message of this book?
Hmm. Well, so the original core message, I was pulling up all my old top three. I did all the work, friends. I always tell people like, if you really want to do something well, then learn from the right teacher. So everyone in this room, you know, if your top three alums or students, we're all really smart to be here. So I'm really grateful. But so I'm going to share my original core message, but it evolved because the
Yeah.
book took so many turns in the last 5 years. So I just opened it. I was like, oh, that's what it was. So behind every iconic brand is a great team. Behind every great team is a values-driven leader. And that was the original.
Yeah, I remember.
And and it was it's still relevant, obviously, but when I talk about now who the book is for, it's really about people who have ideas. And the core message is really now that if you have ideas, you're a leader that the world needs to hear from. That's really what it is. Because we separate a lot of times our ideas from leadership. And
Oh,
actually, the greatest ideas become leaders, whether it's a product, like a product leader or a person leader. And I mean, today is a great day to talk about leadership too, isn't it? Because it's MLK Day. I mean, that's really what I care about the
that
most. But
is all we are talking about today.
yeah, so MLK had a dream, had an idea for the future of what he wanted to live in. And, he was martyred, obviously, for those ideas, but no one will deny that he's a leader. And so it's because of his ideas and his willingness to communicate them and then to rally people around that idea to change the world. And now we have a federal holiday, um, at
Yeah.
least, for it. So,
So that perspective shift from the core message is to stop thinking of your idea as something as an extension of you or that you have to do. It's actually part of who you are. It's how you, it's, that is profound. Dang. I have to think on that. That is profound. What? I'm really thinking now about that. That is good. Okay. What is the promise of the book, Jen Kim?
well, the promise of the book is that any idea you have, you can use the model called the unicorn innovation model that's in the book to put your idea in and that it comes out being something you're really proud to talk about. And the flip side is you can put ideas in and realize the idea that you thought you wanted isn't what you really wanted so that you don't spend any more energy, time, or money on things that actually don't reflect your values and your dreams. And so it has both transformations, if you will. It solves both of those problems.
I love that. And I also, it's so, in chapter one, you have us getting to work almost immediately. And
Yeah.
I actually have gone through a couple of those exercises with you in person in chapter one. And it was even one of the questions in the exercises just kind of brought me to my knees in a good way. And I feel like when I think of you, I think of you as you're a person who I have to listen so closely. And I'm not saying I don't listen. I'm not saying I'm not a good listener. I'm just saying you're so brilliant that I have to make myself cut off all distractions so I can pay such close attention to what you're telling me. And one question can have all of everything go click, 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 click completely into place or just blow my freaking mind. And I felt that and I love that when I started reading Unicorn Team, I was like, look what you did. You went right into chapter one. You were like, let's go, let's do it. Let's figure out if this thing works or not immediately. Um,
Yeah.
because you put a lot of the foundational stuff that we would normally see in a chapter one in the introduction. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting how you kind of worked all that out. Before we get to your excerpt, Jen, I just want to point out to everybody here a couple of just little house things. We want you to buy Jen's book. That is part of what we're doing here. And if it fits your budget, we would really love for you to please purchase a copy of Jen's book. This isn't just if you have a business, as Jen described at the beginning. And I'd love for you to get a copy. number one. I would also love for you to mark a date on your calendar, which is February 4th, and you're going to write an Amazon review for Jen Kim. Because Amazon reviews are really hard to come by. You could ask 500 people and get 20. And it doesn't take much time. We're not asking you to write a critical review. It's not you don't have to sound like the New York Times. It just needs to be something that is true. And let me give you a little hint. Something we do in Monday Night Reading is we put in the chat words and lines and ideas that resonate with us as the author reads. You could literally take one of those, put it in the review. Say, this is my favorite line from Jen's book, and you are done. 5-star favorite line, good, 10 seconds, over, mission accomplished. You've done a good deed for an author. So I'm going to bug you about that a couple times throughout today. For those of you who come to Monday Night Reading on a regular basis, if you can lead the way with sharing what resonates with you as Jen reads. Now that we have that house business done, Jen, what are you going to read for us to start?
Well, first, I want to also just share, this is the real hardcover. I
But yeah,
just
I don't
got
have
them.
mine yet.
I know. I'm so excited. I actually didn't even I was in New York for a pre-media thingy. I have my little post-its where I was thinking excerpts might want to be like, will be cool. But the cover it's hard to see, but there's this like really cool spot glass, and it's a really I think the book is going to be so helpful and useful to you. I even told people the framework in here is how I picked my second husband, meaning like I knew like my idea of the person I wanted to live with the rest of my life. I was telling people like people don't get married to get divorced in general, right? So if you're going to get married again, let's have a process to make sure this idea fits your life. So my point is that I was in New York City and I got, I got my books shipped there because I knew I would be there and we had some opportunities there. And anyway, I'm so happy with it just overall, because I think one of the biggest stressors is like, how's my book going to look? Is it gonna appeal to people? Because we know that the cover is so important. You reinforced that even in top three with me, AJ. So this is the book and it's really great. And thank you for also AJ saying, that to buy it. And right now, to be honest with you, we'd love for our Amazon orders to go up, because I'm really proud to announce that our pre-orders, we have like had so many indie booksellers get our orders because we really believe in bookstores. Like AJ, you're making my young Judy Bloom like living vicariously through her come true just being on Monday Night Reading, because I love that you said that like usually this is for fiction. And I thought when I was younger, I'm like, one day I'm going to be a writer. And even in my acknowledgments, I talk about how I thanked Judy Bloom and Beverly Cleary. And I said, thank you for making me know that being an author was like the coolest thing in the world. And so I love that you're making this spin on nonfiction and prescriptive nonfiction. Like we need to tell our stories and read. So thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so this is the book. And the hardcover is worth getting because it's so sturdy. And I truly believe that you're going to use this. It's not a book, not just to buy or even to read. It's to use. Like every time you have a new idea, I just want you to open the book and follow the steps so that you just get more confident making the decisions for your life that matter. And if you're in business, it's going to help you make a lot of impact and income too. So those are like really great things, right? So I just wanted to kind of reinforce that. So thank you. All right. What is the excerpt?
What are you going to read for us, though? Because I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, I would. Does the author always choose, or should I say two and then have you guys vote and tell me which one would be the juiciest for you to listen to? No?
You can. We've never done that before. I have a thought, but tell me,
Okay.
tell us what you got. We
All
love a
right.
story, and we also want to know the gist.
Okay. So the two I had, one is the story of how Hadestown, if
Yes.
everyone's familiar about Hadestown, which is the Broadway musical. Or I have in chapter 13, When a Unicorn is Afraid to Play Big, which has a lot to do with my story. So
So
curious.
can I ask you, what about reading did you consider reading the introduction?
Well, I did. That was my first sticky note. So yes.
I'd love if you would consider it, and then maybe see if we can fit Hadestown and the other one. We'll see if we
Okay.
But the reason is I feel like your intro is very tight with explaining kind of the gist of this.
Hmm.
And you also have a story at the beginning of it.
Yeah, good.
So are you cool with that?
I am because I do believe context matters more than
Yes.
content. So you are like living in my highest values right here, AJ Harper. Yes, let's do it.
Okay, well, take it away, Jen.
All right. Unicorn team. Author's note. Kendra Scott started her jewelry business with $500 in her spare bedroom. Today, she's one of the wealthiest women in the world, a billionaire mogul with 100 retail stores and 2,000 plus employees, and one of just 12 women in history to be inducted into the Texas Business Hall of Fame. She went on to establish the Kendra Scott Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute at the University of Texas, an incubator where young female students can share their business ideas and be taken seriously. Shanann Penna made homemade protein bars in her kitchen and shared them with family and friends who were blown away by the creative flavors and how shockingly delicious they were. Just a few short years later, she sold her company, Quest Nutrition, for 10 figures in cash. Now she's living her best life, investing in luxury real estate, running a sanctuary to provide compassionate care for shelter dogs that have terminal cancer, and using her wealth to fund research that studies the connection between diet and chronic disease. Elon Matas struggled with his mental health and felt frustrated by how difficult and time consuming it can be to find the right therapist. This sparked a billion-dollar idea. What if you could answer a few questions on your phone and get matched with a great provider, and then do video sessions from the privacy of your home? Therapy without the hassle and stress. His company, BetterHelp, is now the largest online counseling company in the world, with over 30,000 therapists and millions of customers served. Driven by the belief that therapy should be a basic human right accessible to all, BetterHelp has provided over $65 million in financial aid to cover therapy for low-income individuals. There are ordinary people, products, and companies. And then there are the people that took ordinary ideas and transformed them into extraordinary ones we admire today, the unicorns. Unicorns are the ones who have the greatest impact on society, the ones who change the way we live, work, and communicate, the way we find love, stay connected with friends, and raise our children, the way we experience the world around us. They expand our reality and improve our lives in ways that we could have never imagined on our own. They create the brands that shape culture. Brands with that type of impact and influence start with a big idea. Scribbled in a notebook or on a cocktail napkin, you may have a great idea that you want to bring to life. The next Kendra Scott jewelry, Quest Nutrition, BetterHelp, or maybe even the next Starbucks, Disney, or Martha Stewart Living. Or your great idea might not be a business you want to launch, but instead an idea that will improve the company you work for or the community that you live in. But this great idea will remain exactly that, a scribble on a napkin and nothing more, if you attempt to do it by yourself. This book fixes that problem. Unicorns need other unicorns to make exciting things happen. Should I keep going?
Yes, I want to hear
Okay.
that intro
Okay.
that's about the COVID vaccines.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It goes through and explains kind of the basic tenet of what you're saying.
Great. So I'm going to move to the introduction then. Unless you want me to finish, this book is about X, Y, and Z. Should I tell that piece?
I love the author's note personally. I
Okay,
think it's badass, so keep on reading.
great. This is a book about unicorns. In these pages, you'll learn how to become a unicorn, the most innovative, inspiring, and powerful version of yourself, the kind of leader that people want to work for and with. You'll learn how to surround yourself with fellow unicorns, brilliant people who possess the strengths that you lack and who help you achieve 1,000 times more than you ever could do alone. Work alone and you will fail. Work with an underwhelming team and you will also fail while wasting more resources in the process. To achieve unicorn level greatness, You need the right people working on the right idea and using the right process. You'll learn the essential roles and energies of the 9 unicorn leadership types that you need to bring your ideas to market in order to awe your audience and create buzz for your products and offers. This is a book about big ideas. I'm going to explain why most great ideas never become a reality and how to make sure that yours does. Whether your idea is a way for women to design personalized jewelry with a few clicks on their phones, a protein bar that actually tastes good, or a revolutionary new approach to counseling that helps millions of people improve their mental well-being, you'll discover how to rally the right people around your idea and bring it to life. Sometimes the best ideas to rally around aren't even yours, and you might like that even better. This is a book about leaders and teams. Big ideas don't happen without powerhouse teams. However, most teams are dysfunctional. Many teams waste an enormous amount of time, energy, and money trying to solve the wrong problem instead of the right one. Many teams are horrendous at communicating, achieve mediocre results, get discouraged, and ultimately splinter apart. You will learn why these headaches happen and how to fix it. I'll share timeless truths about human beings can work together better, truths that remain constant even amid the rise of AI, remote work, and other cultural shifts. Even as technology advances, some things remain the same. Humans are still humans. Teams are still teams. We still need to collaborate to make great things happen. Innovation will always involve people. This is a book about choices and decisions. We live in a world where we've simplified things that aren't always so simple, like managing other humans, and where the loudest person on social media influences you to make a dogmatic, paint yourself in a corner decision, instead of one that gives you the fluidity and flexibility to really win. You'll learn how to use a delightfully modular and proven framework that helps you prioritize what really matters. You'll use what your big idea and the right people who rally around it really need, and then you'll ignore the rest. Applying the unicorn team methodology is like having free reign to play with Lego blocks that you get to design, build, and then erect a whole new reality. Most of all, this book is about winning. If you want to bring exciting ideas into the world and win in business, you can't do it alone. You need a team, but not just any team, a unicorn team. A team that collaborates so fluidly and harmoniously. Watching this team work is like watching elite athletes sprint across the field at the Super Bowl. Poetry in motion. A team with such a stellar reputation that the world's best, brightest, and most talented individuals practically beg to join. No matter what size company you are or what stage of business you're in, consider this your go-to innovation playbook to create a culture where you and your unicorn team test your ideas in your own lab and play big together and win with predictability and without wasting precious time, money, and most of all, energy. Get your best idea out into the world with astonishing speed and success. I'm handing the unicorn keys over to you. Okay.
I love that author's note. Yeah, so give us the story in the introduction. I love that story.
Yeah. And this one I had to fight for, friends. So
What, really?
oh, yes. They
You
thought it was too
finished?
political. They thought it was political. I was like, this is political. This is funny. How we think everything is political. I guess everything is political, but
I guess, but you were just saying what happened.
right. Exactly.
Okay, now everyone really wants to know.
Right.
Okay, Jen.
Introduction. How a scrappy underdog changed the world. On Sunday, February 2nd, 2020, I went to see the San Francisco 49ers play the Kansas City Chiefs at the Super Bowl. Sitting in the stands in Miami, surrounded by thousands of diehard 49ers fans, I watched my beloved team crumble in the fourth quarter and lose. I felt tears gather in the corners of my eyes and my stomach dropped. This was a personal tragedy. In fact, I was sure it would be the most devastating moment of the year. Ha! On Friday, March 13th, I picked up my son from elementary school and didn't drop him off again for 340 days, along with every other parent who had school-age children. Practically overnight, new phrases entered our collective vocabulary. Social distancing, super spreader, flatten the curve. Late night talk show hosts delivered monologues live from their kitchen tables with family members operating the camera gear and family pets running across the screen. Nothing was normal anymore. While people like you and I were figuring out how to use this thing called Zoom and turning our homes into multi-purpose offices, schools, and gyms, pharmaceutical companies were sprinting to develop a vaccine for COVID-19. The billion-dollar question, which company could do it the fastest? The stakes were extremely high. 500,000 people had already died. Millions more were expected to follow. Hospitals were overwhelmed and running out of beds for sick patients, setting up temporary triage centers outdoors and turning refrigerated trailers into morgues because they didn't have enough space for the bodies piling up. During a deadly surge, one hospital in California received a shipment of 5,000 body bags. You don't need a crystal ball to know that's a very bad sign. We needed a solution. Frankly, we needed a miracle, and we needed it now. Race for a cure. As the global crisis and fear both mounted, two companies took on the race for a vaccine. One company was Pfizer. You know them as the makers of pharmaceuticals like Advil, Chapstick, Preparation H, Neosporin, EpiPen, and one of its most famous prescription medications, Viagra. Pfizer had already produced 350 successful medications and other products and was poised to be the first to market with a vaccine. A giant behemoth biotech company, 150 years old, with 96,000 employees and $51 billion in annual revenue in 2019, they, along with Johnson & Johnson, another household name, were the obvious frontrunners to win the race. And then there was Moderna, the David to Pfizer's Goliath. Moderna, a relatively new company, just 10 years old, was the underdog. With 800 employees, a skeleton crew compared to Pfizer's workforce, and 0 commercial products on the market, they decided to put their hat in the ring. At the time, Moderna was a biotech company working on treatments for illnesses like cancer and cystic fibrosis. They were doing important work and gaining traction, raising $2 billion in venture capital funding. While $2 billion is nothing to scoff at, remember, it's peanuts compared to what Pfizer raked in every year. Moderna had never brought a product directly to the marketplace. Their first attempt would be mRNA-1273. It often takes 5 to 10 years or more to create an effective vaccine. Moderna got the job done in 42 days. Just a few weeks after the genetic code of the virus was released, Moderna shipped a box containing a few hundred vials of the experimental vaccine to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. This made Moderna the first company to deliver a potential vaccine for clinical trials. Soon after, they became the first approved to do a small early-stage trial on actual humans. During the trial, 0 people developed severe COVID-19 symptoms, not a single one. And the Moderna vaccine was 95% effective, far higher than many scientists expected. Long story short, it worked, and it worked shockingly well. Pulling this off on such a wildly fast timeline was a feat deemed absolutely remarkable by one vaccine expert who advises the FDA. Billions earned, and the queen of country music's seal of approval. In December 2020, the US Food and Drug Administration authorized the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine under an emergency use authorization. The internet went ablaze when Dolly Parton proudly got her Moderna shot, singing her classic song Jolene, but changing the lyrics to vaccine, 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 offering her seal of approval for this medication and encouraging her fans to do the same. Sidebar, Parton herself used her own money to help fund the vaccine development, a charitable donation that Dr. Naji Abumrad said made the research toward the vaccine go 10 times faster. Thanks to mRNA-1273, commonly known as Spikevax, Moderna's annual revenue exploded astronomically from less than $1 billion in 2020 to $18.4 billion in 2021 and $19.2 billion in 2022. How did a scrappy 10-year-old business pull this off? A working vaccine and one of the world's most beloved entertainers endorsing your product and giving her blessing on social media? That's the kind of positive PR that no amount of money can buy. Sure, Pfizer rolled out their own vaccine too, but Moderna did it faster and with significantly fewer resources. Who was the leader behind this unlikely achievement? Tracy Franklin, the 39-year-old chief of human resources. Franklin had been with Moderna for only 1 year and suddenly found herself facing the biggest professional challenge of her life. She had to keep morale high while the world was falling apart, support team members through their stress, loss, and grief, and navigate complicated psychological and emotional dynamics, including the public's general mistrust of new medications, particularly fast-track vaccines, all while leading the Moderna team through the most daunting project of their lives. No big deal. While most people in charge of HR aren't known as innovators, Franklin was first in line to put the idea of getting into the vaccine game in front of the leadership team and the board of directors. She viewed it as a win-win. By pivoting into vaccine development, Moderna could keep people employed while the economy was volatile, win, and hopefully save countless of lives, even bigger win. In a moment of visionary courage, the board agreed to go with this ambitious plan. We literally decided overnight, the company's co-founder, Nubar Afeyan says, to try and do this. Describing this time in her career, the word that Franklin uses is ownership. She was no longer a typical HR specialist responsible for hiring and training, following the traditional playbook. Moderna's company's values are bold, collaborative, curious, and relentless. And Franklin found a way to make these values burn strongly in each team member's heart. She took ownership of delivering the massive results that she had promised, laying out the timeline, which was unheard of, and inspired people to believe that it could be done. And she led the business in a new direction and impacted the health of people around the world. And Franklin is a unicorn, an extraordinarily smart, skilled, driven person who consistently exceeds expectations. But there's no way she could have accomplished this miracle by herself. To overcome all the obstacles and achieve a nearly impossible goal, she needed to create a unicorn team. You can too, and that's what this book is about. There's a couple more pages. Shall I finish up?
Um, First, I just have to say we've never had anybody sing an MMR, and do you do that in the audiobook?
I do.
Yeah, I love
That's my
it.
little orphan. That's my orphan Annie on Broadway that I wish I was when I was a little girl. So I had got my little chance with my audiobook.
Yeah, I heard you tell this story how you were auditioning for Little Orphan Annie on
Yes.
Broadway. Yeah.
Yes.
You're a great reader, by the way.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
by the way, everybody, you could also get Jen's audiobook. I would say get that extra, get the hardcover to be supportive of Jen right now. I learned a lot of stuff in that story actually that I didn't know. And then do you go on then to explain how she built that team?
Exactly. So right after that, I say, this is not luck. Definitely, it was as I said, a visionary act of courage in a role that, again, traditionally, I came from corporate. My story is I worked in corporate for 15 years, and then I left and became an entrepreneur, which is in the book. It's in chapter 13. And if you ever came from the corporate world, you know that the HR department is definitely not looked at as innovative. And that's why I chose this story, because I felt so deeply that it showed that no matter like what box society has put you in, you can show up and bring your ideas and shift things. And she really, if you know the whole story behind Tracy Franklin, uh, she did it mainly because she knew that her scientists are very like, they're scientists. And she knew that they would practically lose their minds if they were out of work. And it was so she came from that HR piece of it first and then realized, wait, we could actually help make sure people don't die. And so in the next part of this opening chapter, I outline what I call the unicorn innovation model, which is the process to do what Tracy Franklin does. Again, even if you're new to your ideas going to market, or I want you to even think differently about an idea that the idea could be you, meaning reimagining who you are and how you're seen, even as an author or as a personal brand. And today, personal brand is more important than anything. Unfortunately, for some of us are like, oh, that just sounds like awful. And I would say a personal brand is not about social media. A personal brand, as an author, you're building your personal brand, right? And so this book can even help you market your book when it comes out better. It can, like, because you'll be able to describe you're the idea that needs reimagining, or your product needs reimagining, or you have another idea, all the things. So right after this story, I go right into that innovation model.
So I want to just let people, what I've learned from you is about that a unicorn team has these people that there's three types of people. You say visionizer, strategizer, and mobilizer.
Yes.
And when you
Yes.
first explained that, I heard, when you were working on the book, I thought about, oh, that's why that didn't work. And that's why because you're talking about how you have the wrong sort of combo, or you have everybody's all got this, you got all visionizers. Well, we're not doing we're just talking about ideas all day long. Uh,
Mhm.
can you share a little bit about, just real quickly, about what is a visionizer, strategizer, and mobilizer?
So the first thing I want everybody to understand about visionizer, strategizer, mobilizer, and from this point, you'll probably hear me call them V's, S's, and M's, just so because they're long words and whatnot. Anyone who has an idea is a visionary. Okay. So out there, most people think, okay, visionaries are running the world. And the narrative does support that, right? Based on what's outside. But when it comes to actually bringing your ideas to life, there are three types of what I call energies rather, that are active. So that's why they're called visionizer, strategizer, and mobilizer, because the izer part is the action-oriented piece of it. So you can be a visionary, somebody who is leading either again, you could be a solopreneur, just trying to bring your product to market and working with like part-time help. You can be an author who wants to publish your first book, and the unicorn you're looking for is A.G. Harper and top three in the community, right? Like that's your unicorn team for your book, right? But what's key is that you need to know what kind of energy that makes you motivated to go, like to work on what I call the right hard things. So visionizer, strategizer, and mobilizer are energies, not people. That's the first thing I want everybody to get. There are a lot of books out there that talk about time management. And the ultimate goal of the book, besides you picking the right ideas and bringing the right ones to market, is that you start to access this energy inside of you that makes you someone people want to go to the finish line with, right? That people are like, oh my gosh, I'm your Huckleberry. And it's not always about money, because especially for those of us who had to bootstrap from the very beginning, I want to show you that most visionary people embodied what I call their leadership energy type, which is the V, the S, and the M, and embody that in such a way that people believed so much in them and those ideas, they rallied behind them. Just like Tracy Franklin, right, that I just read, or Steve Jobs, when you think about, I mean, everybody knew he was kind of a jerk, right? But why did people follow him? They followed him because his ideas were magnificent. And they were like, look, I don't have those big ideas, but I have some skills that could become part of that train. And we have to start to believe that we are those people too. If you really want your ideas to come to life, including even how do you enroll your kids into your dreams? Because they're usually like the biggest pressure, friction, and noise. At least they were for me when I was starting my business. Um, so this book is about enrolling people. And the way to do that is to embody, again, your B, your S, and your M. So visionizer energy, and people with high visionizer energy are motivated by their ideas. They are like, my ideas are so awesome. And I think we all love our own ideas, but some of us aren't over motivated. Visionizer energy is like over motivated. Like they will talk about their ideas till the cows come home. Like they just talk about their ideas and their vision. Strategizer energy, those people who embody that, it are people who are motivated by results. So meaning, okay, if the idea that I love doesn't get me results, a high strategizer energy will say, I'm not going to do it. And that's a good decision, because they actually know doing that is not going to get me results. So I'm okay. It's okay. Maybe that idea wasn't supposed to be mine. Maybe that's supposed to be someone else's idea, right? And then mobilizer energy, their greatest motivation comes from accomplishment. And so notice different ideas, results, accomplishment. So accomplishment is about closing loops and being highly skilled, meaning a lot of people think of like mobilizers as like admin, and admin is definitely one type of mobilization skill, but copywriting is a mobilization skill, right? Like if you are a great copywriter, feel accomplished by writing, finishing your words, finishing your pages. Um, a scientist is a mobilization energy a lot of times. They know specific things. So how the 9 leadership types, and that's the subtitle of my book, the 9 leadership types you need to launch your big ideas with speed and success. You have a primary energy and a secondary energy. I am a primary S and a secondary V. And the third energy is M for me, which I call your linked energy. All of this is in the book. There's a big fat section 2 of the book is basically all the different energies. And what's cool is when you buy a hardcover, not, since AJ already opened the field, before the book hits the UPS trucks to get delivered on February 4th, you get access to the Unicorn Leadership Type Assessment, which is inside of the book for free. It is a 51-page report based on your leadership type and energetic composition that makes you finish well. And when you're embodying that energy, people want to follow you. And so, yeah, so I'm an SV, I'm a strategizing visionizer, which is also called the mastermind. And SVs in general, when I've studied and researched all types of different leadership types, SVs in general are known as kind of the rainmakers. We know how to, we can smell the money. We know how to architect a result because results are what matters to us most. So we can see the pathway and we will rally behind people with vision if we believe those ideas are worth rallying around. So the visionizer energy, if I were for example, to rally behind AJ, if she has V energy, I would be like, I really believe in her ideas. I really believe in top 3. I really believe in writing books that are a must read, right? So I know that was a little bit longer than what you said, but that's kind of the gist. Oh, and by the way, a strategizing visionizer that everyone knows is Taylor Swift. So I'm not mad that we're the same. That's all I can say. Yeah.
So you can get to know a person even if you don't meet them in person, but someone like Taylor, and you can say, oh, she's a this.
Based on all my research and, again, I really derived this framework and even my research on the leadership types from first, working in corporate and bringing really new ideas to the world that people didn't know yet, as Laura so eloquently introduced me. I was that person that was brought in to bring ideas to market that no one had ever heard. And there were a lot of ideas that we brought to market that failed in the first round. Like one example is Webvan. Webvan was the grandmother to DoorDash, and I raised $30 million for that product back in, I'm really aging myself, y'all friends. It was in 1999.
Okay.
Webvan, DoorDash basically was in the market in 99 in San Francisco and New York City, and it's just an idea before its time. And so a lot of people don't realize that there were people before the things that we enjoy right now that really brought that energy to market, and that people will actually invest in that too. That's what I think a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, I'm always failing or whatever. And I'm like, you're just not messaging and embodying it in a way that other people are like, I'm going to invest in that idea because maybe if it doesn't hit now, it's going to hit next. And I think that right now the world is ripe for us to be reimagining and re-innovating the way we do everything going forward. So in fact, I think it's the only thing we can do to get past the psychosis in the next 4 years, in my opinion, so.
I find, yeah, I've learned so much from you, and I feel like I have to sit at your feet about messaging in terms of ideas, in terms of like I know what to do for a book, but I feel like sometimes when it's a product or something or a service, it's not quite the same thing, and or maybe it is, I don't know, but I've just learned so much from you about thinking about it in terms of the marketplace. Um, but I do want to ask you, I'm not going to be, I have all my little questions, but um, I wonder if you could share with us what do you wish everyone would do differently? What's one thing we're all just totally screwing up when it comes to getting our ideas off the ground?
I'd say I have two that are kind of tied, so I'm going to say both of them. The first is that you don't have a process to um, validate your ideas in a way that actually make you feel peaceful if you choose not to move forward. Because you know what it is? It's like we hoard our ideas or we just don't want to let go. We are attached to all the ideas that flow through our brain. And it is not possible to implement every idea that we have. Like that's just actually even not physically possible. But nobody's ever given us, in my mind, until this book, but I was using it for everything. And this is why, because I'm an S, so I like results. So I would use this framework to make decisions on what I think would hit, like what would win. And so that's the piece. So, and then the second tied thing is to be afraid of the word team. Like people think the word team means, oh my gosh, I don't want to grow this big thing. Or even in this community, we're a community of authors. And I know sometimes authors are like, that's not what I want. And I want you to reframe that team is not just the people that, let's say, work for you on your payroll or are paid on retainer. Your team is the right energies and skills you need for that idea that you have to work. So as I was saying, in the spirit of being here in AJ's world, I was looking for my unicorn and I kissed a lot of donkeys on the way to finding AJ. Okay. That's the truth. And you're going to kiss a lot of donkeys. And because you've kissed these donkeys, you're scared of leading. You're scared of managing. You're scared of losing money on a skilled person that were referred to. And then it turned out to be poop. Y'all know what I'm saying, right? This has happened to every single one of us, including me. Just because I have this framework and this is something I would humbly say I have mastered. Mastery doesn't mean that you don't do it wrong sometimes because we live in a world, especially with social media, anybody can say they're good at something, right? Anybody. And so because of that, I want to invite you to all not be scared of the word team. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to build a big team. Even when Jen talked about Moderna, that was like a bigger company. Every idea, everything that has changed the world. And when I say change the world, like you've changed the world by still being here. Okay. Like the fact that you're even here is a miracle, every single one of us. So I want you to think about like, who are the people I need right now to get this idea? And that's the biggest problem. They keep thinking about like, oh, maybe one day I'm going to have this big company. So I'm thinking I need to have all these people now. And I'm like, no, you need to find the one or two people that can press the lever for you. And in the case of my book finally getting some momentum, it was me joining top three. And I'm not joking. Like, this is not just like, oh, because I love AJ. I do love AJ. But honestly, she's one of the only unicorns in this space, truly. Like everybody else is not just a donkey, they're a jackass. And that's one level lower than donkey. Okay. Everybody will tell people like, and donkeys actually are not bad. Donkeys are beasts of burden, and we need donkeys. They have to carry a load for us. But you deserve better than that. You need to be a unicorn, even if donkeys are going to follow you. Okay. But you definitely want to eliminate the jackasses because those are the most destructive people that cause chaos and make you lose your confidence in finishing your book, in getting your company to be, have more revenue, in again, choosing your next life partner. I mean, seriously, right? Like we we kiss a lot of jackasses and donkeys. And I want to invite you to like the unicorns are here and the unicorns don't have to be here forever. Meaning I finished my book. When I write my next book, I'll always be under AJ's tutelage because she really is to me the master and I'm the apprentice learning and wanting to be better at. So to me, it's like now unicorn to unicorn because now I'm finally an author. But when I first started working with her, I'm like, I'm still a donkey in this author thing because I don't fully get it. Right. And being a donkey, again, nothing wrong with being a donkey, but I wanted to become a unicorn author. And so that's how I want you all to think about it because it's easy to get people write books about one thing, and I fought to teach you the whole process because I felt it was that important. So
Yeah, I'm always love when authors just get right to now let's go do it. And I
mhm.
think that's just a value of mine. If we're talking about prescriptive nonfiction, I think we need to show people the way to show them how to do it. So, all right, I want to be mindful of the time so we can end on time. Which of the stories do you think you could read in the time we have left? The personal story or Hadestown?
I think Hadestown,
Okay, probably. Although you guys are
because
gonna
it's
get
two
the book
pages.
now. So listen, the link's in the chat. Get Unicorn Team, purchase a copy. Please, please purchase a copy and please leave an Amazon review in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time. Um, let's hear so you can get that personal story because now we've teased it. It's pretty
Yes.
I know it. It's definitely not what you expect. So you should just definitely hear it. Let's hear Hadestown.
All right. How Hadestown went from folk music album to box office shattering success. Anais Mitchell was driving in her car when she heard Greek gods singing in her head. No, she wasn't having an auditory hallucination. She's a singer-songwriter from a small town in Vermont and was on the road heading to a gig. As often happens for highly creative people, Anais was having one of those moments like you do when you're in the car or taking a hot shower and the muse knocks on the door of your mind. As the melody swirled in Aeneas's mind, she immediately thought about the ancient Greek tragedy of Orpheus and Eurydice. I always say it like it's hard to say. Eurydice, the lovers who become ensnared by Hades and can't leave his underworld kingdom without paying a terrible price. The music poured through her like water. She felt as though she wasn't even writing it herself. She was merely the vessel, the channel, and something was flowing through her into the world. Once Aeneas had enough material, she called together a few musician buddies, including Justin Vernon, the singer-songwriter best known for his band Bon Iver, and folk rock legend Annie DeFranco, and recorded an ethereal, dreamy concept album that she called Hadestown. Aeneas's unicorn leadership type is what I would categorize as mobilizing visionizer, or an MV. A strong mobilizer, she's a disciplined musician who can write original pieces, record, and deliver a finished product to market. In this case, an album with 20 songs. She also has a big dash of visionizer. She's an artist, dreamer, muse, and romantic, the person who sees what the world could be and the brighter future we can move toward. The Hadestown concept album dropped in 2010 and was critically acclaimed, although sales and streaming numbers were modest at best. It had a small cult following of fans who passionately loved it, but it never achieved mainstream success. Anais crammed her band into a converted VW bus and drove across the US, touring with limited funds and bringing the music to small venues. It was a small-scale homespun project, and it could have easily remained an obscure album with a few thousand listeners. However, there was something undeniably magical about the music. It had the potential to become something bigger. But Anais couldn't do it alone. She needed a unicorn team. Enter Dale Franzen. Dale, a retired opera singer, was now running the Broad Stage, a brand new $50 million performing arts center in Santa Monica, California. Every week, Dale received stacks of albums from musicians, each hoping for the chance to get booked and perform at the Broad. Dale found most of these albums unimpressive and tossed them into the no pile. But when she played Hadestown, she was enraptured. This music was unlike anything she'd heard before, with poetic lyrics and melodies that haunted her. Dale's unicorn leadership type is visionizing strategizer, or VS, meaning she's a major visionizer with a good dose of strategizer. This is a woman who sees the bigger vision before others do. Dale arranged a meeting with Anais and told her, "This could be more than just an album. I see this becoming a Broadway musical." Anais dreamed big, but Dale dreamed even bigger. And so Dale took Anais under her wing. And without knowing exactly how it would happen or how long it would take, they began taking steps toward the Broadway lights. Dale is a gifted artist in her own right, but her superpower is fundraising. She knows how to communicate a big idea in a way that gets people, extremely wealthy people, excited to be involved. Her fundraising philosophy is I'm not begging people to donate. I'm providing an opportunity for people to be part of something bigger, something important, something that makes a lasting impact. She says, a lot of rich people are bored and want to be part of something exciting. And what's more exciting than the chance to be part of the next big hit Broadway show? Dale got to work finding early investors to bring Hadestown to the next level. But Anais and Dale had a vacant role on their unicorn team, a mobilizer. Dale recruited Mara Isaacs to join the unicorn team. Mara's unicorn leadership type is what I have dubbed mobilizing strategizer, or MS. While Anais and Dale talked loftily about the transformational power of love and how art can change the world, Mara, a major mobilizer, created a project timeline, refined the budget, and did behind the scenes work to move the project forward. Mara is a strong strategizer too and had years of experience developing new plays and other theatrical productions. She understood the steps that needed to happen to move from big idea to finished product. Mara and Dale recruited more unicorns to join the team, including more producers and investors, a director, stage manager, and marketing and PR specialists. Broadway is a brutal industry. It's extremely difficult to open a show in one of New York City's 42 theaters in the Broadway district. Many aspire, few succeed. It's even more difficult to stay in business. Out of all the shows that open on Broadway, only a few remain open for more than a season or two. 1 out of 5 shows breaks even financially, while there are a few cash cows like Wicked and Cats that consistently rake in the coins. These are the exception, not the rule. As far as Broadway musicals go, Hadestown was an underdog. It was a quirky show with unconventional music that Broadway theater goers do not usually expect. It had a title that many people weren't sure how to pronounce. What's more, it was the first musical in Broadway's history to have 2 lead women producers, a woman composer and a woman director. On top of that, Anais, Dale, and Mara had never created a Broadway show before. This was a first for all 3 of them. After a few more years of fundraising, refining, and test performances at smaller venues, and eventually the National Theatre in London, Hadestown opened on Broadway on April 17, 2019, and it was an instant hit. The New York Times called it gorgeous and hypnotic. Tickets sold like hotcakes, and it became one of the most financially successful shows to hit Broadway since Hamilton. In fact, Hamilton's creator, Lin-Manuel Miranda, praised Hadestown on X, back then known as Twitter, posting to Anais, Maestro, your baby's all grown up. I racked sobs in the audience. Bravo. He added that it's the most goosebump-inducing thing I've seen this season. With that ringing endorsement, tickets continued to fly. By November 2019, the show recouped its $11.5 million in investment just a few short months after opening night, a speed unheard of in the musical theater industry. The show swept the Tony Awards, scooping up 8 awards, including Best Musical, making it the most awarded show that year. A Grammy Award for the Broadway cast recording soon followed. In the first 5 years since opening night, the Broadway production grossed over $180 million, and that's not counting any revenue from the show's lucrative tours across North America, Europe, and Canada, as well as a South Korean production featuring a K-pop star in a leading role. Beyond its financial success, Hadestown captured people's emotions. Fans showed up to performances dressed as their favorite characters, wearing red flowers pinned to their clothing, the same red flower that Orpheus hands to his lover, Eurydice, in the show. Teenagers drew anime-inspired Hadestown fan art and posted it on TikTok and Instagram. More than a musical, it was becoming a cultural phenomenon. Hadestown is what many shows aspire to be, but few become, a unicorn musical, one with the potential to generate $1 billion in the years to come between the numerous tours, licensing deals, and the movie adaptation that's in the works. Anais didn't do it alone. Neither did Dale or Mara. But when these 3 unicorns combined their powers, they achieved the right balance of visionizer, strategizer, and mobilizer energy, the holy trinity that's required to bring great ideas to life and create a brand that is wildly successful.
Yay, I love that.
I know we're a little over time, but
It's
thank you for
okay.
letting me do
It's okay. No, I loved hearing that story. You made me, you know what? I still haven't seen it, and I've seen most things. So now I actually, while you were talking, was just clicking over like when I maybe get some tickets. Maybe I need to go get some tickets. Um,
Date night for you and the wifey. Let's
that's
go.
it. I love,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I can get her to a musical. I don't know. I don't know. That one's rough. Plays, yes. But maybe I can, I can beg. Jen, I'm so proud of you. I'll be thinking of you for the next 2 weeks. Everybody here, please get your copy. Please tell people about it. And
Please.
I want to close, Jen, with the question I always ask, which is so important to me, which is why I do this. What's the change you want to see in the world because this book exists?
I want you to believe that you are a unicorn, that you are not a donkey or a jackass, and more people like us are needed on the bookshelves to give perspective and shift the narratives that currently exist. We are all so desperately needed for that.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. Very well said. Everybody, let's celebrate Jen. Thank you for showing up for Jen. This will be available on YouTube later this week. And so if you're interested and you want to share it with other people, you can do that. Hang in there, Jen. You're coasting. You're
Oh
coasting
my
through it.
gosh.
And
And I
then
can't wait to share it with everybody what I learned, even from the marketing of the book, since and I'm happy to share it with top three anytime. So,
it's great. We're gonna get you in for a debrief.
awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jen. You did it. Woohoo! Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you
Bye.
soon.